All right, I'll go ahead and call the Sherwood School Board meeting to order for June 9th. I'll remind all the people sitting in that corner, you're sitting by a live mic just in case anything comes up. Let's go ahead and stand and join in the flag salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, just a little bit of stage direction for our agenda tonight. After the consent agenda, we've got a fairly extensive spotlight on where we'll recognize retirees, some new administrators and such. After that, we're going to recess the meeting for a bit for a reception that'll happen in the room right through those double doors over there. So we'll have a little bit of a break. And if you're watching online, you'll see a little placard saying we're on that break. And after a few minutes, we'll reconvene the meeting. And that's usually a good time for friends and family and people being recognized to slip out if they don't want to sit for the rest of the board meeting. So with that, it takes us to the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Jessica.
I move that we adopt the consent agenda as presented.
A second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, spotlight on recognition of retirees. I'll turn it first to Mr. Emmert.
Good evening, Superintendent Cordy, Board Chair Allen, and Board of Directors. Tonight, we have the privilege of honoring 10 retirees. Some could be here and some were not able to be here tonight. But we just want to take a moment to thank all of you who are here for just your years of service, your commitment to Sherwood kids and families, and the difference you've made in the lives of so many. We'll be calling principals up to honor those who are in their buildings, but I get to kick off the night by honoring Mr. Smith. So Tim, if you'll come join me. And I'm probably going to read much of this because Tim is a dear friend of mine, and what I never like to do is be emotional in front of a crowd. So what I can tell you is that Tim has served the district as an elementary principal for the past 13 years. He was hired in 2008 as the principal of Middleton Elementary. The Middleton staff commented that Tim could get the attention of the entire school during an assembly, especially when Mr. Muscles made an appearance. He'd put on a costume consisting of various sizes of balloons that resembled muscles and stuffed them all over himself, making him look like he had huge muscles, hence the name. His voice resembled a professional wrestler. The laughter throughout the cafeteria during assemblies with Mr. Muscles brought joy to everyone in the room. One staff member, and I wish I could have shown you pictures. I have a couple of great pictures of Mr. Muscles. One staff member described a time when a kindergarten student was learning to read. One day she came literally almost running to the office because she could read her first paper flip book and she wanted to share. The next thing we knew, Tim and Eric Beasley, who was the admin support for that year, were sitting on a bench outside the office with this little student in between them, with the student reading them her story. Tim came back to the office with tears in his eyes and just said, "That right there is why I do this job." It was one of the most precious things I've ever witnessed. What is done in love is done well. That's Tim. He's one of the most kind, patient, caring, gifted people I've ever met, and it was truly an honor to work with him. In 2011, Tim was transferred to what was Hopkins Elementary, where he served for the next 5 years. Once again, he positively impacted the lives of students and their families and staff members. Then in 2016, Tim was once again transferred, and this time to Archer Glen Elementary. We just needed his gifts all over the district. He has been serving in that location since that time. The staff described Tim as being full of compassion, always seeing the positive and best sides of others, and an excellent listener. Tim has an incredible sense of grace, love, and thoughtfulness that makes staff and students feel connected, supported, and encouraged. And for that, we will forever be grateful. Thank you for being a bright spot in our community and schools, Tim. You'll be greatly missed. As I mentioned earlier, on a personal note, Tim is a very dear friend of mine, and I will truly miss just the positive, the positive that he brings to every single conversation, his sense of humor, his encouraging words. I don't know that I've ever sat down and visited with Tim where I didn't feel better when I walked away at the end of the conversation. Tim, we just thank you for your dedication to Sherwood and your commitment to kids, and we're going to miss you, but we wish you the best.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So if I may, thank you. I know we have a lot to get through this evening, but if it's all right, I'd like to just take a few minutes because you know me, I never miss an opportunity to say something. So thank you, Mr. Emmer. And let me begin by congratulating my fellow retirees for your courage, first of all, in taking this step, but mostly for your service to children. You're all superheroes, all right? You just need to know that. Now, to this board, this governing body, these leaders that I look at, I want to say thank you. These last 13 years have been a wonderful adventure for me. And one of the reasons I can stand before you and say that is because, you know, when I went to work every day, I knew what I was being tasked with. Because I don't know what happened behind those doors, but I know what happened out here. And one of the things that I think of when I think about this board and its executive team is that the message that was presented was one that was unified and focused. And the gift to those of us who have to carry that out is that we knew what our marching orders were. And that's no small thing. And so I just want to say a very humble thank you for that. And thank you for the privilege of serving the children of this community and being counted among some really amazing people. And I'm really grateful. So thank you very much. Thank you all.
I'm going to keep Mr. Smith up here and introduce Miranda Johnson, who has a gift for Tim.
All right, we have Sherwood administrative team, maybe let me hold this up. Tim, we would like to present you with this gift from our team as a thank you for your 13 years of service to our Sherwood School District.
Finally made the team. Oh my God. That's lovely. Thank you. I'm gonna need to borrow your recipe to get that home.
I can drop it off.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
All right, Mr. Baines, if you could join me up here, please. No, you do. We'll call Tim back up after everyone so they can all say thank you. Good evening, Dr. Cordy, Board Chair Allen, Board of Directors. It is an honor for me to be here tonight to recognize the one and only Mr. Brad Baines. A little bird told me that Brad started teaching in 1988 at the Centennial School District in Gresham. He coached high school. He's also a 4-5 teacher at Harold Oliver Intermediate School until he joined Archer Glen in 2001. At Archer Glen, Brad 4th grade and was also our technology teacher for quite some time before he moved and helped open Edie Ridge in 2009. Brad has been at the Ridges teaching 4th grade ever since. Time at our school, and just recently this last week, I was able to visit with some of his 4th grade students. Mr. Baines always works to include the cultures and religions of others, and he is the best at helping us when we have trouble. Doesn't make you feel bad because you do something, he just helps you with it. We know he really cares about all of us. Mr. Baines makes a point to check in with us each and every day, and my favorite thing he does is when he shares his positive vibes at the end of every single school day. Mr. Baines is kind, smart, funny, and just the right amount of strict. Additionally, I was able to talk to several colleagues that have worked with Brad over the past few years, and it was a joy to kind of compile their thoughts into some common things that I would like to share tonight as well. Brad has been an extraordinary teacher and teammate. He is patient, flexible, and kind, always available to lend a hand. He has taught me countless things, many of which came in very handy during distance learning. If you listen hard enough, you'll notice that Brad is always making top-notch jokes and funny commentary. It's been a great role students and staff alike, and he will be sorely missed. A final staff member shared that last we both happened to be walking out of Edie to their cars at the same time. Brad turns back. Asked him about it. He told her that he did this every year, paused to enjoy the very first moments of summer break. It's something that she herself has done every year since. I have no doubt that Brad will have much to pause and reflect on as he leaves our week. I hope the majority of us will include the positive impact he has made not only for our students, but for our staff. From my very first days as the Ridge's principal, Brad has been welcoming and supportive of our school community and of me. His smile, constant tech support, calm and even-keeled nature, and deep love for students will be greatly missed next year. It has been an honor to work with Brad, and despite my best efforts to get him to apply for any and every open elementary position I have this year, I am very excited for him to begin this life. Side note, he did tell me he will sub 4th grade only just on Fridays, and I'm going to take it. Taking it as a yes. The contributions he has made to our district will have lasting effects for years to come, and we are blessed to have him as an important part of our Sherwood School District family. We wish you the very best of luck on your next adventures, and we hope that you enjoy every minute of your well-deserved retirement. Congratulations.
I don't have a speech, but I just wanted to say it's kind of fitting because 50 years ago, I started in this building as a first grader. So it's kind of a fitting end to come back here.
Awesome. Congratulations. I will now hand the podium over to Mr. Walmuth to honor our retirees from Middleton.
Do we need to do something with this mic? Okay. Good evening, Superintendent Cordy, Chair Allen, and the Board of Directors. Tonight, I have the distinction of being able to honor two outstanding women and Middleton teachers, Julie Camp and Diana Engelgau. Jules, you're up first since your last name starts with a C, so come on up. I might need So I think we all have likely had teachers in our lives that have had a tremendous impact on us at some point in our education and had connected with us in special ways. These are the teachers that create a place for students to find themselves, a space where students explore and fail and shine. These are the teachers that provide a caring classroom, yet demand excellence every day. These are the classrooms where kids know that someone believes in them. These are the teachers whom children never forget and for whom they will always be thankful. These are the teachers that teach kids more than the 3 R's, but reach into their hearts and help kids believe in themselves. This is Julie Camp. Without question, Julie is an outstanding educator. But her greatest legacy is what she has meant to her students, families, and colleagues during her 25-year teaching career, 23 of which have been in the Sherwood School District, 21 of which have been at Middleton. She mentioned to me the other day that teaching is not just about planning, instructing, and grading. It's about being a counselor, a parent of parents, a coach, a team member, and a confidant. All of this in the course of a minute, an hour, or a day. True words, to be sure, and certainly exemplified each day in room 26. So Julie, as you wrap up your 23rd year in Sherwood, you must know that there are countless students who no doubt will name you as the one that made a difference in their lives. And if there's anything more impactful than that, I'm not sure what it is. It's a legacy of excellence, of care, of humor. She's got a great sense of humor, of joy and love, the very best of Julie Camp. I recall as we were approaching the returns of students in our building this spring, the excitement and anticipation that Julie was exuding. Even in our CDL model, her class had become a tight-knit community, and it was almost like a family reunion on those first few days back. Julie was beaming with pride and love for her kids, which was reciprocated by the fourth graders in your room. Julie has said that retirement will provide her the opportunity to be Amy to her grandkids, time for travel and gardening, reading and volunteering, and perhaps most importantly, a life of very few morning alarm clocks. I have no doubt that next Thursday, as she says goodbye to her students, tears will be shed, hugs will be required, and tissues discarded. And I believe that's just the kids. I think Mrs. Camp's going to be emotional too. Congratulations, Julie. We wish you all the very best and know that you will be missed.
Thank you.
All right, you're up. So we've had a theme at Middleton this year about finding our marigolds. In gardening, marigolds are planted to protect and support vegetable plants and help ensure strong and healthy growth of those plants. As a metaphor, marigolds are the people in our lives that lift us up when we struggle, support us when we need them, walk beside us on our adventures, encourage us in our endeavors. They're our cheerleaders. These are the people that make us better. And there's no better way than this to describe Diana Inglegow. As she's about to finish up her 21st year in the Sherwood School District, all 21 at Middleton, and her 23rd year of teaching overall, Diana has had the opportunity to impact hundreds of students in our community. I asked Diana what advice she would share for a new teacher to have a successful teaching career. This was her response. Learn as much as you can from your colleagues, find your marigolds, be prepared, then close your door and teach what you know your kids need to be successful. Love the kids, enjoy the kids, get to know them. You will learn from each other. Good advice for sure. And certainly we have seen this in action at Middleton for 21 years, most recently in room 7. Diana, you are a special teacher. For those who have had the chance to watch Diana in action, she makes it look easy. Every instructional move is choreographed and intentional to reach each student in her classroom. Many, many students have had the privilege to learn from you and with you over the years. Retirement for Diana looks more like more time on the golf course and more time on the trails, time with her grandkids, and the flexibility to enjoy these activities when all of us are in school and the crowds are there. While we are thrilled that you're embarking on this new journey, we will miss you. We will miss your calm demeanor. We will miss your support of our kids and as colleagues. We'll miss your grace and your ever-present smile. I have no doubt that you will continue to be a marigold to all with whom you come in contact with. And I'm thankful that you've been a marigold for our Middleton family. Congratulations and best of luck to you, Di. We'll miss you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'm going to introduce Sherwood Middle School Principal Marianne Funderhead.
Wow. So Board Chair Allen, Superintendent Cordy, and Board of Directors, thank you for the opportunity to recognize and celebrate the years of service from one of our finest and most loyal staff, who I too consider a dear friend, but I'm going to get through this. You watch. So Renee Schilling, 23 total years of service at SMS, student taught at Hopkins Elementary for 4th and 5th grade. She taught 1 year of 6th grade math and science, I won't talk about the math scores at that point. 9 years of 7th and 8th grade science and 13 years of 7th grade science overall. She served as a team leader, a CLT leader, participated on site councils, hiring committees, a mentor to many, and planned and chaperoned the Washington, D.C. trip for our 8th grade students for 12 years. Renee, where do I start? You have touched so many lives, and I don't just mean student lives. I mean the lives of all of us who have had the privilege to work with you. I consider myself one of the lucky ones. I have personally learned from you in the 22 years that I have had the honor and good fortune of being on the same team. In your heart, you have the best interest of others, especially when it comes to students. You have a gift of creating a safe, welcoming classroom for all kids, a gift of knowledge to share, always wanting the kids to really love science and making learning as hands-on as possible. But most importantly, you have a gift of sharing your heart and building relationships. An example of this is when attending high school events or the high school at any point, and you would pass the students, all of them saying, "Hi, Mrs. Schilling, hi, Mrs. Schilling, hi, Mrs. Schilling." So much so that her family and colleagues thought that they were with a celebrity. I would also often hear the students in the hallways, "Mrs. Schilling is the best science teacher ever." And from staff, all the kids loved Mrs. Schilling. They would say it all the time. She is an amazing friend. She helped me through some stressful times, and I love her for that. I remember she was the morning hangout for me, Dave, Jan, and others. She always had coffee made, and we would just hang out and chat before school started. Renee has been a constant while I have taught here in Sherwood. She was the first person to make me feel like I was part of the family at SMS. She is very self-sacrificing and often shows her love for others with acts of kindness. Renee is a self-proclaimed East. She often reminded her CLTs that she needs more time to process things. She asked questions and always offered a different perspective in order for us to make the best decisions for students. Renee is truly a gem. Amazing teacher, amazing friend. Her impact on Sherwood schools and the community will forever be remembered. And for your colleagues who are still here, we will honor you by supporting teachers and students unconditionally, like you have done for over the last 2 decades. Clearly, Renee has made an impact while serving the students and families of the Sherwood School District. Renee, thank you for your commitment, loyalty, and all the sacrifices that you have made to make a difference in the lives of others. As we send you on your way to retirement, we know we are losing institutional knowledge and a whole lot of heart. However, because our paths have crossed, we have learned a lot, laughed a lot, and are better people for knowing you. You will be missed. Happy retirement. I'm really for nothing. First time ever. I'm going to now turn it over to Principal Melissa Barron.
Good evening, Chair Allen, Board of Directors, district officials, and everyone here. I have the privilege of talking about 5 of the finest educators that I've ever had the privilege of working with. And I am a crier, unlike a lot of people, so I'm going to try really hard to get through it as best I can, because we have people leaving us that have been here and have created this place. So 3 of them were unable to be here with us, but I want to recognize them because they have given so much of themselves to the district. First up is Debbie Bear. Debbie Bear joined the Sherwood School District staff in 1995. Since that time, she served as our bookkeeper. Debbie is the epitome of a team player, and she always steps in to help whenever she can. Something that stands out to me about Debbie is her wall of fame that she has in her office that is filled with pictures and notes from past students for the last 20 years. This speaks to her ability to make connections with students from her position. She's not a classroom teacher. she handles the money, and kids know her and love her and respect her. We will miss her greatly in all that she has done for us, but she is looking forward to retirement. Her and her husband own an RV, and they're looking forward to traveling the country in their RV. So on behalf of Sherwood High School, I just want to acknowledge Debbie and thank her for her time at Sherwood High School. Maybe they're watching online. Next up is John Strohmeyer. John Strohmeyer has spent the past 29 years serving Sherwood High School and the Sherwood School District as a health and PE teacher. He has also served as a baseball coach, one of our link crew coordinators, and has been a department coordinator for several of his years. He is an educator for whom I have a lot of respect. Watching him interact with students in his classes has been a highlight for me, and there are many students who credit him for their success. Every time I walk into John's classroom, he always invites me to participate in whatever workout is happening in the classroom. And luckily, I always point to my shoes and tell him that I'm unable to participate, but he is very persistent in inviting people to participate. And so I just appreciate that and all that he's done for students. On behalf of Sherwood High School, we thank him for his service and dedication to our students, staff, and school, and congratulate him on his retirement. Next up, and it's probably good that she's not here because I definitely wouldn't make it through, is Lori Cowan Lane. Lori has been at Sherwood High School since 1989. She's the heart of the building. And after 32 years, I know that I speak for everyone in saying that we're unsure what we're going to do without her. She has taken care of everyone and everything with a smile over the last 32 years. For the majority of the people in the building, Lori was the person who set up their interview or invited them to come into the building or showed them where their classroom was. And it is just a magical, she's just magical. She has tirelessly supported every person in both personal and professional lives. And I know that I wouldn't have made it through this past 2 years without her. So I thank her for being with me and being with us in all of this, and congratulate her on her retirement as well. Okay, now I have a couple of fine gentlemen in the room. Mr. Sterling, if you would please join me. Well, I know, which is going to happen, but hi. Jeff Sterling joined the Sherwood High School staff in 2009. Throughout his time here, he has served both as a social studies teacher and their head boys golf coach. Something that stands out about Jeff is his unwavering dedication to each student who passes through his classroom. He believes in those who sometimes don't believe in themselves. He is selfless, and he will do whatever needs to be done to support all students. On a personal level, Jeff was one of the teachers that welcomed me to the high school with open arms and has supported me through several very challenging situations. I find myself sitting in Jeff's classroom many times just to talk about life and just to learn from all that he is as a human being. After 12 years in the Sherwood School District, Jeff leaves behind a legacy of empowering students in an unmatched way. We are all better because of the opportunity to work with Jeff. Mr. Sterling, thank you for all that you've done for every student and every person at Sherwood High School and in the Sherwood School District, and congratulations on your retirement.
Okay, so I guess it's real now. I'll just say briefly, thank you to this board. Thank you, Dr. Cordy. Thank you, Melissa, the best principal I ever had. And I didn't have her for long, but I had her. And thanks to everybody in the room, and a shout out to Sarah McCusker. Couldn't have got there without her. I wanted to thank specifically all of Sherwood School District because this is actually my third retirement celebration. I've had 2 other careers before this one. And it took courage and it took trust for this district to hire a what, 54-year-old new teacher and bring that person into this district. Older people can teach too, even if it's the first time. And thank you very much.
Well, last and certainly not least is Mr. Greg Lawrence. Greg Lawrence started in the Sherwood School District in 1990. He's worked as a health and PE teacher and served as our head football coach throughout the years. Greg has gone above and beyond to build a positive culture with a foundation of loyalty, respect, kindness, and welcoming everyone into the Bowman family. It is that I love the most and respect the most about him. One of my favorite memories of Greg is having the privilege of watching him after every football game. He brings the team and the families and the coaches together, and he speaks for just a couple of minutes, wrapping up, telling everybody good job. But the best part of this experience at the end of every football game is that he opens us up to the kids to be able to acknowledge and encourage each other for what's happened in the game. They are not shy about acknowledging each other. They are not shy about sharing the stage with each other and loving each other. And that is a testament to the culture that Greg has built and who he is as a person. It's not about Greg. It's never been about Greg. It's always been about the kids, and it's always been about the Bowman family. And that is something that I have never seen in my 20 years in education. I've never seen something like that occur after every single football game, win or lose, every single time. Greg has welcomed me into the Bowman family with open arms. My first week of school, he said, "Hey, Melissa, come on down to the football practice. You got to meet the team." And I was like, "Really? Are you sure? Okay." And so I did. And I went down, and he had the team welcome me with open arms and had his captain stand up and tell me about what was so great about Sherwood and why I was so lucky to be the principal there. And, and I believed them. And I believe that about you, Greg. You are an inspiration and have been for so very many years. I know that choosing retirement was a hard decision, but we are so thankful for the opportunity to know you, to have been a part of your family, and we wish you nothing but the best in Arizona. Enjoy the sun.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to all board members and past board members. Seen a lot. All the principals and that I've gone through, and it's been a pleasure to be a part of this community, part of the school district. I'm just blessed that I've been able to be just in one place, and I am going to miss it. I'm going to miss being around friends, all the families, teachers. Marianne and I, we started together over at the middle school, now Hawksview, but middle school. And so, I mean, I've been able to have relationships with a lot of people, and it's just been a blessing for me. And I just want to thank everybody, and hopefully everything continues on going forward and good things are happening. So thank you.
I just want to quickly comment that, it's interesting the way we kind of bookend our meetings in a school year, where we start the first meeting of the year with new teachers and in service and all the stuff that goes around the beginning of the school year. And then we finish the last meeting of the school year where we have great joy for the people who are retiring and moving on to the next phase in their careers, but a lot of bittersweet that goes with it as people who have touched so many lives and have such great stories and such great experiences are gonna leave the family, and that's always, when you kind of think about it in the accumulation, it's always a little bit hard. But I really sincerely want to say thank you to all of the retirees that we're recognizing tonight, especially many of you who touched my kids directly over the time they've been in schools here. And really appreciate everything that you've done for kids and for our community and for our schools. Thank you. One more round of applause for all of our retirees. Next up is introduction of new administrators. Dr. Cordy.
So following those comments and just watching the staff come up here who we are honoring tonight has just brought back so many memories, just even over the course of the 11 years that I've had the honor and the pleasure of serving in this role. And to all of our retirees, from the bottom of my heart, I just thank you for who you are and what you have done for the students and the families in our care. And I appreciate each and every one of you. And I just wish you the very, very best in everything that's next for you in your lives and in your journeys. Thank you so much for your service and all you have done. This evening, we also get to honor and recognize and introduce 3 new administrators to our team. And we know that one of the most important things we do is hire the right people into the right positions in our organization, whether that's classified staff or teachers in classrooms. The right fit and the experiences and skill sets are key. And this certainly also applies to our administrative hires. And so tonight I have the pleasure of introducing 3 new administrators who'll be starting in their new roles with us in the Sherwood School District family with our team on July 1st. And so the first one is Patrick Shekarow. Can you please come up here? Okay, thank you. Great. Okay. Thanks, Patrick. Welcome. Patrick Shekarow is the next principal of Archer Glen Elementary. And yes, that's right. Well deserved. And has been serving as the principal of Forest Hills Elementary in Lake Oswego for the last 3 years. Prior to that role, he served in various positions in the Sherwood School District, including a 3rd grade teacher, an instructional coach, and a district level administrator. We are so excited to welcome you back, Mr. Shekarow, to into the Sherwood School District family. So please say a few words.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I'm super excited to be back. So my heart's here. I got my start here. I spent some time nervously in front of this microphone, not in this room, but in the other room here. It is such an honor to be back, and it's an honor to be following Tim. Tim was actually my principal. So in year 2 through 4, I was a 23-year-old kid who didn't know what he was doing, and now I'm a 36-year-old kid who doesn't know what he's doing. But I've Tim there, and I've had a chance to start my transition, which has been really exciting. And in that transition, I've observed some things that I want to share. And so, number one, not to make it all about Tim, but I've observed the way Tim transitions someone else, me, and that has been in a way that's very loving and very humble. Tim being my principal, I think we all recognize that a lot of his strengths are very expressive. So he's very well spoken, he's funny, he commands a room, he's engaging. And then what I learned also is that a lot of his strengths are very subtle and they're quiet, and it's a type of strength that doesn't need any credit. And I hope to bring that forward in my own leadership in Archer Glen, is to embody that type of humility and love. And we don't care about credit, we care about getting the work done. So thank you, Tim, for showing me that. The second observation that I like to share is just in meeting the staff. So I've had a few chances to meet the staff, and it has been so fun because I know many of them, and some of them I know because I've worked with them and we have inside jokes that we can rekindle, and others I kind of know them because I did a state testing training, and I'm very sorry to you all because you get it every year. And it was so fun, and that really taught me how much joy there is there and how much relationships really matter there. And I hope I hope to carry that forward in my leadership there as well. And then my third observation comes just yesterday. So Morgan, hi, I'm Morgan. There was a wonderful event where I got to meet the kids and the families, and it was great. And I was not expecting a balloon arch. I wasn't expecting an ice cream truck, but those things were there too. And what I noticed in those moments is really subtle, but as I'm meeting families and their children, it was about the students first. So the families are, meet my child. and the conversations are all about the kids and with the kids and for the kids. And that really showed me that this place is really student-centered. It's about keeping our kids at the heart of what we do and remembering that we don't have a purpose without our students. And so I would like to carry that forward as well, to keep them in mind in everything that we do and to keep my leadership centered on the work of our students and how best we can serve them. Really excited to be here. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Shakro. I know, right? Me too. Okay, the next new administrator I have the honor of introducing is Mrs. Tamara Glavin. Would you please come forward? Thank you. Welcome. Tamara has been selected as the district's first Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and has been serving as the Dean of Students at TOSA at the Sheridan Japanese School, focusing on student attendance and behavior, providing administrative support, and guiding school-wide diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Mrs. Glavin is Newburgh born and raised, and we are so glad to be welcoming her to our family. Tamara?
Good evening, everyone. Before I really roll into my observations, I just wanted to share a little bit about myself. I am from Newburgh. Please don't hold it against me. I went through the Newburgh system, Crater, CV, Newburgh High School, and then I left and went to Montana to get a different experience. And upon returning or graduating, I came back to Newburgh, where I currently live, and then I started teaching at Sheridan Japanese School. When I was looking for a change this year, I really wanted somewhere that was more local in the general area because I wanted to continue serving a community that I appreciate, that I love, and people that I understand. And when this position was posted, I was like, yes, this is perfect. I get to do something that I love. I get to help build up and support kids that were just like me that have some similar experiences and support some staff that also have similar experiences. So when I saw the job posting for the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, I jumped on it. I said, yes, this is for me. I hoped, and I crossed my fingers. And I also felt an instant sense of pride and appreciation because it takes a lot to recognize needing a change, and it also takes a lot to then do something about it. And to know that a district so close to where I grew up, so similar to where I grew up, was looking for this change and was doing something about it meant a lot to me and still does. So in taking those steps, I was very encouraged and I'm very happy to be here and to be doing this work. Throughout the interview process and over the last month, I have been able to learn a lot about the district. I have been visiting the schools and I've been interacting with our administrators and learning a lot. And there's a lot of great work that's already happening. I see a lot of devoted people and a lot of people that really want to do good change and really want to uplift and support all of our community members. And I'm looking forward to continuing that work with all of you and leading from a place of kindness and understanding and to really get started. I thank you for your time, and I will be seeing a lot of you as we continue. Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, Amy Mitchell. Amy will be the associate principal at Ridges Elementary. She currently serves as the dean of students, a TOSA role in that school. And through an extensive stakeholder engagement process in 2019 and early 2020, the need for investing in an associate principal with student investment account funds emerged as a priority. So prior to this role, Mrs. Mitchell served as the instructional coach at Hopkins Elementary. And it is so exciting to have Mrs. Mitchell continue to support the Ridges community as she serves in her new role. Amy?
Chair Allen and Board of Directors and Superintendent Cordy, I just want to say how honored, privileged, and excited I am to continue working with the Ridges students, staff, and families. It has been such a gift this past year, especially during these difficult and challenging times, to support that staff and work together to support our families. In addition, in this new role, I am really looking forward to continuing the partnership with that community specifically, but also continuing my service within this district, a district I have come to absolutely love and have so much respect for. So thank you very much.
Okay, join me just one more time, please, in welcoming our new administrators. Thank you.
Next up, evidently, Director Hecker.
That's okay. I intentionally wore heels so this mic wouldn't be a problem. Okay, I'm gonna try this. I have my font is big enough. I think I can read it without the glasses, but just in case. So I'm here tonight to honor a couple of our board members that are leaving us. So I'm gonna start with Mike Hyland. I thought I could get through this, but it's not looking good. So I have my Kleenex too. So I just wanted to start the conversation with a quick disclaimer. Mike didn't want any of this, but sorry, Mike, you don't get a choice. There will be a to-do for you. We are ignoring your request, so sorry about that. As I thought about what I was going to say about Mike, this spring, I just thought back on the first time that I met him, and you know, knowing he was going to participate in the final school board meeting as a board member in June, I reflected on that time. I met Mike in 2006. There was a group that formed to embark on this bond campaign for the new schools. And the name Mike Hyland kept coming up. You have to get Mike, you have to get Mike. And like, who is this Mike Hyland and why does his name keep coming up? I just thought that was really interesting, but I had to reach out to Mike and they also mentioned his wife. They said, you got to get Janet too. Whatever you're doing, you need Mike, you need Janet. So I reached out to Mike and it didn't take me long. Sorry, I changed page here. What I discovered is that Mike is a tireless volunteer. That doesn't even really describe it. But on the bond campaign, while Janet volunteered in all kinds of different things, Mike took on the role of leading the door-to-door campaign. Not something that's a small piece. We completed our door-to-door, our official door-to-door work, and there were some remaining packets. So we decided we would leave those packets on Mike's front porch, and volunteers could drop by and take a packet. Well, it didn't take us long, maybe a couple days, to realize that Mike was going to walk every route to work himself. So we had to take steps and remove some of the packets because he was not stopping until the job was done. But in all seriousness, Mike is just one of the kindest people you're going to meet. His list of volunteerism for children in the Sherwood community includes coaching soccer, PAC volunteer, budget committee, boundary committee, school bonds in 2006 and 2016. Sorry, it's a long list. The Sherwood Education Foundation for the past 9 years, and of course, school board for the past 4. There's no question Mike has been an integral part of the buildings and the transformations of every school in Sherwood.
In addition to the past 4 years, Mike has also helped hire a multitude of Sherwood School District employees, and he really has participated in nearly every single meeting he's been invited to the point where if Mike wasn't there, I would feel a little worried that something was going on, because he really, if Mike was invited, he was always there and always present for kids. The list of volunteer work I mentioned earlier is vast, but honestly, it's still only a partial list. Most of us know Mike is passionate about feeding the hungry, advocating for children and all people. I did learn something new when I was researching Mike that really completed the puzzle a bit for me. I was looking at Mike's bio and realized he holds a master's degree in political science, in addition to his bachelor's in engineering. It now makes perfect sense to me that he's a natural to press our politicians in his advocacy for stable school funding and resources. On behalf of the education community in this room and the greater Sherwood community, I thank you and Janet and your girls for your consistent work and sacrifice to make Sherwood a great place for all kids. So we have a couple things. We have a beautiful plaque to commemorate Mike's time on the school board. And then we have this really goofy certificate that I made that says this certificate is awarded to Mike Highland for walking the most miles for kids in Sherwood. And then the flowers are for Janet, but I don't see Janet here. Oh, she's hiding in the back. Okay, I'm gonna give you. Okay. So the next person I get to talk to is Eric Campbell. Eric's been coming to a lot of school board meetings for a very long time. Not many community members attend school board meetings in general, unless you're Eric Campbell. I'm not sure how many meetings or years he attended, sitting in the audience listening until we finally coaxed him into actually joining the school board as a board of director. Eric he's volunteered in the Sherwood education community for so many years. He's volunteered in classrooms, organized robotics tournaments, taught coding classes, supported and expanded STEM and CTE opportunities in Sherwood and really the entire state of Oregon. Eric is often a quiet listener. He takes in the discussion and processes the information. He adds a comment or a thoughtful question on occasion. However, sorry, Eric, here it comes. There was a time when Eric got rather animated and he shared his thoughts about math classes, testing, graduating, and coursework after high school. In his excitement of the discussion, he may have coined the phrase calculus mountain. To this day, it is the signature Ericism. I don't know that anyone really knows what the term means. So in an effort to understand, I looked up the meaning of calculus. Calculus is the study of how things change. It provides a framework for modeling systems in which there is change and a way to deduce the predictions of such models. The description of calculus fits Eric beautifully. He's worked for so many years to prepare kids for their best outcomes, both during and after their time in Sherwood School District. He works to make sure they reach the top of whatever mountain they want to climb. His value of the trades, education, and care for all students is evident in everything he does. Both Eric and his wife, Kim, have modeled long-term volunteerism in the school. Without a doubt, Eric Campbell has made and continues to make a difference in the lives of Sherwood students and the community as a whole. So thank you, Eric, Kim, Evan, and Emma for your work and sacrifice for the Sherwood community. So Eric, of course, gets an official plaque for his 9 years of service, but really importantly, I'm sure this one's going to be key for to something to frame for the house. It says this certificate confirms Eric Campbell has scaled Calculus Mountain. Thank you. So as Sue said, none of the three departing board members wanted us to make a thing. But we can't help it. So we're not going to. And I am just so grateful for all three of them and everything that they have meant and been and continue to be in this district, because though they may be coming to an end of their board service, there are still plenty of coding clubs that need Eric's help, and miles to be walked, Mike and Pat. There are band instruments that need pushed. And so we still need your engagement, your help, your encouragement. So I am fortunate to be able to talk about my dear friend and colleague, Pat Allen, this evening. And I'm going to do my best to try and keep it together, but I'm not going to promise anything. Harry Truman had a saying, and I believe that this could not be more true to Pat. It's amazing what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit. So you all know, we're elected board members, and we stand for election, and people vote for us or not, and that's okay. But the work of being a school board member is not about being out front. It's about the kids. It's about the teachers, many of whom you've seen tonight who have transformed the lives of students, including some of my own children. It's about the principals who lead with courage. It's about the district administration who's making it all happen. A district doesn't just happen. It doesn't just come into being. It happens because people put in the work. And as school board members, it's not about us. It's about the kids. And for Pat Allen, it's always been about the kids. And during his time on this school board, throughout his years of service to the district, whether it's coaching and refereeing basketball, or pushing drum equipment, or being of a million different things to the district, it's always been about how do we make lives better for kids. In the as Sue mentioned, we don't often have a large number of attendees, but what you should know about these meetings, whether there's a large group or not, it's about asking the questions, what's best for kids? And Pat pushing all of us, is this the best thing for kids? And not just for the kids that have privilege, but for kids whose voices we don't hear, for families whose voices we don't hear, for people who don't often come to this building, or others who may struggle. It was about how do we make sure that we really live up to the words that we put on the wall? How do we take them off the wall and truly make Sherwood a great place for all kids? Are we asking the right questions? Are we doing the right things? And so it's in ways big and small. It's about Pat being on a team to help make sure that when this district went to purchase property to build a beautiful new high school, that the voters got the best deal that they voted for, that we protected those taxpayer assets. And we would not have the high school we have today, but for your work behind the scenes that no one really knows about, except me, and now I just shared it with everybody. It's also the conversations about how do we get better as a district to tending to routine maintenance needs. And there now exists a routine maintenance needs list, and it's prioritized, and we fund it and we tend to it, because you said we aren't doing ourselves any favors. Let's get better. It's about asking those tough questions. How do we make sure that we tend to every program as we design and build a new high school? And
Certainly not my favorite thing because I don't really love to be on camera. But Pat, pushing for years, long before any order requiring us to do it. But that gentle or not so gentle pressure of we need to record these meetings. We need to make sure that the public can see what we're doing. Let's increase transparency. And we now have a YouTube channel. I just can't imagine how happy that makes you. I want to say too that service on a school board is not an individual affair. It takes out an entire family. And so I want to thank not only the families of Eric and Mike, but Pat, your family too, to Joan, Caitlin, Megan, Sean, for lending you to us and to the community and to being there and supporting, to volunteering too. Joan made lots of spaghetti meals for the band and for, and just being supportive. It takes a whole family to do it. You have made an indelible mark on this district. We are better as a district because of your service, and our kids will forever have a better education because of you, and because of you, Mike, and because of you, Eric. Thank you all for everything you've done. In addition to flowers for Joan, who Joan, by the way, if you ever watch this, you were invited. Pat just didn't tell you. And the flowers are from us, not from Pat. Sorry. And a plaque that you have over there. I also got you this because I think you ought to remember you helped lead us through transformation programs and build this beautiful high school and negotiate the land and this YouTube channel. Should always remember the YouTube channel. Thank you for everything. All three of you, and Pat, thank you.
And with that, we are going to now recess the meeting for just a few minutes. I'd like everyone to join us for a reception to recognize our retirees and administrators in the room through the double doors over there, and we'll resume this meeting in a few minutes. So we are in recess. I forgot the most important piece of information, which is there are treats in that other room. Cupcakes and from Hungry Hero, not just cupcakes, but Hungry Hero cupcakes. I hate to break up the party, but I think we need to go ahead and get ready to reconvene. So we'll get started here in a couple of minutes.
Am I getting in trouble for being late?
All right, I'll go ahead and reconvene the meeting, and we'll move to reports. First up, Superintendent Dr. Cordy.
Thank you, Chair Allen. Good evening, board members. Good evening. For tonight's report, I've put together some thoughts and observations that I want to be sure to remember in their entirety. So please bear with me as I read them to you this evening. There are some very important and poignant moments in tonight's board meeting, important information about the work being done in our district, but also the honoring of retirees and newly hired administrators. There truly is so much to be thankful for, and high on that list are the 3 board members who will be leaving the board of directors very soon. Directors Allen, Campbell, and Highland, you are men of integrity who have served selflessly in this volunteer role for many years. Your families have sacrificed so much along the way. So many evenings spent in board meetings away from your loved ones. You have not done this work for individual recognition or accolades. You have done it with servant hearts, keeping students squarely at the center of your decisions. You have not entered into these roles with personal agendas. Of course, there are certain areas and programs that you each are passionate about, and that's to be expected. But agendas in the political sense, they don't exist. And because of that, everyone who's paid attention over the years has clearly observed that you take the big picture into consideration when deliberating on a subject. You've served in these roles with a deep and clear passion, a deep and clear passion for and respect of the hardworking staff in our district. Our teachers, our classified staff, and our administrators alike. And I'm confident when I tell you that that respect is reciprocated.
Over the months and years and scores of meetings and work sessions, my team and I have responded to your questions, have appreciated your pushback, and have never taken for granted your trust in us. The bottom line is that we always push ourselves to be better, partly because we don't want to let you and the community down, but mostly because we want to do the very best we can for the students in our care. I know that over the course of this past year, perhaps the most divisive in our nation's recent history, all elected officials have been subjected to false and hurtful rhetoric, and I know that that is the case for all of you sitting here in front of me and alongside me. It's also true for staff and our leaders, and I'm sorry for that. Not only am I sorry that happened to you, but I'm saddened when I see and hear our community using words and social media to attack anybody. Mostly, I worry about the example we're setting for our students and for our children. I wonder when and if we as a nation and as the Sherwood community will get back to a place where perspectives can differ, but the way we go about sharing those differences is with respect and a foundational element of decency. Pat, Eric, and Mike, we have shared a lot of laughs and tears over the years, and we have grown to know each other's stories. Please know that I am a better person and a better leader, having worked alongside you for the past 8, 9, and 4 years. My very best to you and your families as you embark on the next amazing chapter of your journey. Thank you so much. It has been an honor and a privilege.
Thank you. Next up, SEA, who's up?
Good evening, Dr. Cordy, Chair Allen, and directors. First, I just want to say that sitting here tonight, listening to the retirements and just everything that's been said about the people that work in our district, it's just been a really good reminder for me how great of a place Sherwood is, both for our students and our staff. For one, I don't think I can even begin to think about what retirement is at this point in my career, but maybe someday. It's hard to believe too that, after everything that's happened this last year, that we're already down to our last week of school with our kids. And in some ways it seems like a lifetime ago that we were teaching our kids in front of Zoom. And yet once we returned in person, the rest of the school year really has just flown by. And it seemed like we were kind of starting over, beginning a new school year. And yet now here we are after a short time getting ready to finish up the school year already. So this year has presented a lot of challenges that none of us could have foreseen. And with the ever-changing guidance that we always had new challenges to overcome. I know that we didn't always agree and we haven't always seen eye to eye, but we've been able to work collaboratively with the district and the board to come up with solutions. And it hasn't always been easy, but Nancy and I would like to thank the board for your partnership in working together over this past year. Chair Allen, Directors Highland and Campbell, a lot of amazing things have been said about you guys already, and I wish I had some eloquent words to add to that as well, but I just want to say thank you on behalf of SEA and all of our members for the time that you've given. And we know it's a sacrifice of your time for both you and your family, and we hope that as you move forward that you're able to find some time to do some things that you haven't been able to enjoy as you've carried out your board responsibilities. We know there's going to be more work to do in the next year coming up, and we look forward to a continued partnership with SEA and the district. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think we have anyone from OSEA, do we? No. And City Council, Councilor Garland, are you here to report out, or you're just hanging? All right, thank you. That concludes reports. We'll move on to public comment. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment? Okay, was there anyone here who came tonight to make public comment that didn't sign up on the sign-in sheet? All right, then we'll move on to information and discussion. First item, sources of strength curriculum. I'll turn it over to Dr. Fritz.
Good evening, Chair Allen, Superintendent Dr. Cordy, and the Board of Directors, all of you. This evening, I'm going to be talking to you about Senate Bill 52 and a curriculum that is aligned with that. So Senate Bill 52, also sometimes referred to as Addie's Act, requires all Oregon school districts to develop comprehensive student suicide prevention plans, as well as professional development for all school staff and implementation of a suicide prevention curriculum. And that's a requirement district-wide. Additionally, we are required to use an equity and racial equity centered support or lens as we're looking at this. And this is a requirement that is this is a piece that's required to be in place by July 1 of this school year for all Oregon school districts. Addie's Act operates in conjunction with the Student Success Act, and it focuses largely on gender minorities, youth in foster care, youth with disabilities, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, as well as tribal community members, and our historically underserved youth, and making sure that they receive equitable access to services and support. Suicide is a pressing issue and an increasingly larger issue for all of our young people today. This is particularly true for our students that identify as gender nonconforming or gender minorities. I have some statistics up here that came from the Oregon Healthy Teens Survey, both the 2017 and 2019. The reason I posted both of those is I would like to hope that the issue is getting better, not worse. And what we actually see is a slight worsening of these statistics. So nearly 50% of all 8th graders in the state of Oregon self-reported, if they were gender nonconforming, that they had contemplated suicide at least once. That's a huge number. Additionally, over a quarter of all 8th graders who identify as transgender or gender nonconforming have attempted suicide a minimum of one time in the past 12 months. Some of you might think, well, these are just Oregon numbers, and we're Sherwood, and this doesn't pertain to us. I just quickly share some numbers that come from that survey related specifically to Sherwood. 15% of all 8th graders, that's all 8th graders, regardless of if they're historically underrepresented or minority status, 15% of all Sherwood 8th graders self-reported, as well as 20% of all 11th graders self-reported that they had seriously considered suicide in the past year. 6% of our 8th and 11th graders self-reported at least one attempt to harm or kill themselves. That's startling when you think about that. As a district, on average, we have completed 80 to 100%, or sorry, excuse me, 80 to 100 suicide assessments on students that were asking for help in the past year. 80 to 100. I'm going to have Chelsea step up to the mic to talk about some of the things we have been doing long before this bill came into fruition, because I think we as a district have been doing great things to help support our students, but then we'll also talk about what are the pieces we still need to implement to be in compliance with this bill, but most importantly, to be in compliance with supporting all of our students.
Thank you, Dr. Fritz. Good evening, Chair Allen, Superintendent Cordy, Board of Directors. I want to revisit a little bit of where our district has been. You have heard about our Culture of Care program that we have implemented at the elementary level. That started in the 2018-2019 school year with a pilot program at Hopkins Elementary. In 2019 and 2020, after seeing the success that it brought to students and staff, we rolled that out at all elementary schools. That started with both our calm corners in the classroom, our community circles, which provided the social emotional learning curriculum, which was geared towards all students, specifically helping regulation, problem solving, friendship skills, empathy, connecting them to the school community. We also began in February of 2020 hiring our green room IAs or our wellness room IAs in all elementary buildings. As you know, in the spring of 2020, when the pandemic hit, we moved to online learning. One of the great things about our community circle curriculum is we could easily pivot that to an online learning model. So those community circles continued to happen through last spring. Over the summer, we were able to revamp that, including getting input from teachers and staff on what exactly was needed to help them respond to the pandemic and the very unique situations that students and our community were dealing with. So when we started the 2020-2021 school year, that was with our updated community circle curriculum, addressing the very pertinent issues that children are facing right now. It also included those wellness rooms that we made available virtually. So those wellness room IAs were still meeting with students that the school teams had identified as just needing some additional support. Our plan moving forward into next year is continuing the culture of care, and with the implementation of SB 52 or Addie's Act, that will fit very well into what we are already doing. So looking at the implementation piece of things, you can see that this is, like Dr. Fritz mentioned, something that's mandated by the state of Oregon. The goal of this is to not just address all students, but then also provide some really targeted intervention to students who have been identified at risk that maybe for whatever reason are not yet making it on our radar. And this is also a prevention program that helps us to address their needs before they become one of those statistics. Our current culture of care program already includes those community circle lessons. The great thing about the curriculum that we are looking at is they can easily be implemented into the community circle time that we already have. Community circles are already on the instructional schedules, so this is not taking from any other academic core curriculum time. This is something that buildings already have worked into their school day, and this is just again, a way to really bolster the SEL curriculum that we've already established across our district. We are looking at the sources of strength curriculum. This is an upstream prevention program. The goal is to basically prevent the onset of suicide, prevent needing suicide programs and assessments and things like that, as addressing all students, teaching skills that build resilience, increasing connection to the school, to the community, to the staff, and also looking at teaching healthy coping skills. One of the things about sources of strength is it's not only addressing the needs and looking at prevention within students, but it's also addressing the needs of our staff. You know, the teachers that we've heard from, they're on the front lines. They're the ones that are working with these students day in and day out, and they are often the ones that are the first people who are really responding to and supporting these students through these situations. So sources of strength is a great way to support students and staff through that. It is currently grades 3 through 6. Grades K through 2 are being piloted. Our community circle lessons right now is a K-5 program, so we can easily just adopt those into what we already have going. And then the sources of strength curriculum also provides staff training, teacher training, and then support throughout the implementation process. And this is a program and a curriculum that's free of charge to all Oregon school districts. So with that, I want to hand it back over to Dr. Fritz for any questions.
So we'll have this curriculum up for first read tonight. If members of the public want to review that curriculum, how can they do that?
Correct. So the curriculum will be available in the district office beginning tomorrow morning. Any member of the community is welcome to come by and take a look at it. We also have feedback forms that will be available with that, and we'll be collecting feedback from community members.
Great, thank you. Jessica.
Yeah, I just want to confirm this is a curriculum that is designed to support all kids, and particularly those most at risk. Is that correct?
Correct. So that term upstream prevention program, that was a new word for me. So I'm going to take a minute to teach us all the vocabulary word. The idea here is that it's wide reaching. So we're not teaching about suicide. I want to be really clear. That's not what this is about. This is teaching about wellness, how you can reach out to a trusted adult when you need something, how you can calm yourself when you're emotionally dysregulated. So it's intended to be a benefit for all all of our students. And that's the upstream piece. We don't want to wait until kids have gone downstream and they're in that crisis mode. We're averting crisis by teaching healthy life skills.
I just want to say how important I think this kind of curriculum is. I think the data shows us that mental health needs in our community were wide-ranging well before the pandemic, and that they have only grown during the pandemic. And I, as a family that has been touched by mental illness, I can tell you that it knows no geographic, no, it touches all of us. And I believe that this is really an essential component to how we help our kids learn proper coping skills and how to reach out. Suicide is one of the leading causes of death for our kids and young adults, and it's entirely preventable. And we've got to teach the skills for people to be able to get help. So I'm a huge fan. I'm really grateful that this is being brought forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. Next up is the Equity Visioning Committee update. Ms. Carroll and others.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Cordy, Board Chair Allen, and Board of Directors. The others standing beside me is Cassie Williams. She's a parent on our Equity Visioning Committee. And Sarah McCusker, she's the Teaching and Learning TOSA for secondary. Okay, so tonight we're really excited to share the progress we've made around our equity work. Our presentation includes an explanation of the Equity Visioning Committee, the equity audit process and findings, the preliminary work done by the admin team with the Equity Visioning Committee, and then some of our next steps. All right. In late winter, we reached out to a variety of stakeholders and invited them to participate in the Equity Visioning Committee. This committee's purpose was to serve as both an input and accountability group for the district's ongoing equity work. We met 3 times over Zoom, and we will reconvene in the fall. And this team's work won't just stop there in the fall, but will continue to be ongoing. And, so what is an equity audit? An equity audit is really a study of the fairness of an institution, its policies, programs, and practices. And we chose this analogy as a way to provide some clarity. So if the service is providing shoes, then equality means that everyone gets a pair of shoes. And equity means everyone gets shoes that fit. And the equity audit is determining who the everyone is, what constitutes shoes, and 3, creating decision-making processes for how fit is identified and evaluated. And I'm going to turn it over to Sarah as she goes through the process.
Good evening, Dr. Cordy, Board Chair Allen, and Board of Directors. I really appreciate the opportunity to share with you the work we've done so far with the first phase of the equity audit and introduce our findings. As part of the equity audit, we conducted 81 empathy interviews between March and May of this year. As you can see, we had a wide range of participants in these interviews. Our goal was to talk to as many students as possible, given the limitations of our time this year. And we also spoke to staff members, parents, and community members. We spoke with individuals who identified in a variety of ways, such as dual language identity. Some participants represented the LGBTQ community. We had a variety of races represented and genders. I want to make sure to say that this is the initial phase of the equity audit, so the empathy interviews are not complete. This is just considered the first phase. Throughout the interview process, we asked a series of questions to all participants, and 12 themes emerged in the participants' responses. We're going to go through each of these themes and share with you not only the theme, but also some of the testimonials that were shared in order to tell the story of each theme. Although this will take some time, we think it is important to honor the stories and share them out loud.
All right. Theme 1. Some feel Sherwood is a bubble. Many act as though we're all the same and do not know how to respond to racism when it occurs. Some people don't know how to have conversations about race and our cultures. A student reported, ever since I moved here since elementary, I was the only or second only brown kid or person of color, and I just felt weird because it kind of makes some people uncomfortable. And it kind of just makes some kids kind of just creep in the shadows in the class. A staff member shared, Sherwood is a place that I had no idea was as insulated as it is. I don't think that Sherwood School District is intentionally trying to treat me differently or behave in a way that would be racist or classist or any of those things. I don't think that's what people intend to do, but I think it's so pervasive. And people don't know, they literally don't know that they're being racist and classist. And then all of a sudden it gets pointed out, and people are so unaccustomed to having any sort of conversation about anything to do with identity markers that immediately people become defensive and can't engage in any sort of conversation. I constantly feel kind of shut down, I guess, because people don't know how to engage. They don't want to engage. Theme 2. Many staff members lack cultural awareness and do not understand their own implicit biases. As students shared, I've seen a lot of teachers mix up people that have the same racial identity, like mix up their names. I remember one teacher, I think that I looked different from the other student with the same racial identity as me, but they kept mixing up our names and giving us the others' papers and stuff. We're like, is it because we're both the same racial identity? And I know other people that has happened to as well. A student shared, when I am with my white friends and we get in trouble, the consequences are less. But when it's just me, a person of color, the consequences are worse. A staff member reported, there are some school staff that lack the cultural awareness or empathy to treat others with respect. I've seen staff mispronounce Latinx students' names when they have had them all year long. Staff make assumptions based on the race of a student. I have seen staff lack awareness about students who are LGBTQ and treat them disrespectfully as a result. Staff make assumptions that all students in Sherwood are a certain social economic status and end up creating barriers for students as a result.
Theme 3. When culture or diversity are recognized or celebrated, it often feels like tokenized representation or othering. Efforts are perceived as surface level due to a lack of meaningful action. A student shared, I remember on the walls, they would have little sayings that would say diversity or something. And I do remember my friends that were people of color would always make fun of that because we didn't feel like there is much diversity. That felt like the school was trying to be like, oh yeah, look at us. We're so culturally aware and so diverse, but it really didn't feel like it. A staff member reported, I kind of feel like the token brown person. A staff member shared, it does feel like it's kind of something that's brought out and, for lack of a better word, paraded around for a PD. And then we don't talk about it again until the next PD, which is 4 or 5 months later, rather than making it a little more regularly present. People of color don't get to just change the color of their skin when we're done talking about it. And it's very much a luxury for white people to be able to put it away until they're ready to address it again. Yes.
Can you, just for folks that don't know, can you share what PD means?
I'm sorry, professional development, which staff has throughout the year to learn about and get more learning on a variety of topics. Thank you. Theme 4. Many Sherwood students experience racism and other discrimination from their peers. Staff and students do not feel prepared to confront these incidents appropriately. A student shared, I remember 6th or 7th grade when people first started, learning I was born in a different country. They would call me names, sometimes kind of jokingly, or make comments that I don't think they really thought through, like, did you come here illegally? And stuff like that. Maybe you don't feel it at first, but the comments are there and they kind of stick with you. A student shared, I feel like there's, microaggression or racist jokes and stuff like that, which aren't really respectful. I didn't really pay any mind to it before. Now I kind of recognize it, and it wasn't right. It wasn't right. People would say things like, oh, I need to say the N-word. What would you do if I said it right now? Or they say the N-word, or threatening to say that. And then a bunch of monkey stuff, or go back to the field. It's gotten a little bit better, but it was a lot worse in middle school. People didn't really know, or they weren't as knowledgeable on what they were doing. So they kind of just did it. I kind of let it slide, which made them think, oh, that's okay. And so it just kept on going. And then the whole Black Lives Matter movement started blowing up. And I feel like people started to actually pay attention to what they say around me. I had a couple people reach out to me during quarantine and say, I've been reflecting. I know that a bunch of the stuff I used to say wasn't good. They apologized. It's gotten better, and they've become more aware of the situation.
Good evening, Dr. Cordy. Sorry. Good evening, Dr. Cordy, Board Chair Allen, and Board of Directors. We wanted to pause the reading of the testimonials to share some of the themes that have been identified as essential to focus on our equity work.
I'm sorry, but I do think you need to tip that down a little further for people online to be able to pick it up.
Like that. Is that better? The Equity Visioning Committee identified the first 4, which we just read, and the administrative team made a similar identification, noting that the first 2 were most essential. However, both groups noticed overlap and connection between many of the themes. We will continue reading the remaining 8 themes. So theme 5. Theme 5, dress code restrictions cause students to feel discriminated against based on their gender, race, ethnicity, or body type. Staff shared, the dress code bothers me. Bandanas and hats not allowed. Some of my students, particularly my Latino boys, their dads wear those, their cousins wear those, or their grandpas wear those. That's part of their identity. And we say, you can't wear them because it looks like gang affiliation. Like, let's just typecast them into the gang pipeline. It's ridiculous. Also, a dress code for girls, it only suits certain body types, many of which genetically and culturally, it fits a thin white girl, is what it fits. And that is not every student that we have. And if you have 2 girls come in and they're both wearing the exact same pair of jeans, they're going to fit them differently. And one might have midriff showing. At a base level, we're telling kids that they have to fit a mold. And if they don't fit the mold, something is wrong with them. And then they go home and they see their parents don't really fit the mold. And they see that their friends and their cousins don't fit the mold. And I think that is destructive and not allowing them to celebrate their own culture. And a student shared, I've had many experiences with literally getting sent out of class in my middle school years. I had this DIY shirt that I made myself and it only showed my back. And my teacher didn't even have the guts to tell me. He sent the principal to tell me to go to the office and change. And it literally took 40 minutes of my class time. And I thought, what was the whole point of this? When they say that the boys get really distracted, I think, okay, then why was that our problem? Why is it the girls' problem? Next is theme 6. Processes for identifying students for advanced academic opportunities feel discriminatory or based towards certain student populations. A student shared, I made the choice to take advanced classes on my own. I only made that choice on my own because I kind of had my own support group. My siblings said, take these classes. They're there for a reason. Just take advantage and be smart and just do good. It's a lot of just my siblings and not a lot of community telling you, hey, take these classes. It's more so my solo direction going there. A parent shared, it's become apparent with my Black child that teachers never offer advanced opportunities or inquire about testing for tag. That's not ever asked of them. I know my child has deficits. I'm not trying to say my child knows everything, but in math, they've always tested really high, and they do love it. Maybe my child can't take advanced math. That's okay. But when I asked about it again later, it was just kind of poo-pooed, and we'll test them at the end of the year. Maybe they are just an average student, but I just would love for them to feel that, wow, this teacher thinks I'm really great at this.
Theme 7. Schools are sometimes gatekeepers of opportunities and create barriers for students who do not meet minimum GPA, have a referral, and/or can't afford a fee. A staff member indicated, we track SPED students. We do not offer any advanced courses for advanced readers and writers, but we do for math. We gatekeep things like running for student office or being in leadership. We don't let kids join if they have had a referral. The challenge kids that kids have to take, why would we ever want to hold a child back that wants that challenge? A staff member shared, kids really do get tracked based on their academic ability or challenges, and that's unfortunate. I had to fight really hard sometimes for some kids that wanted to run for office, and based off of the practice, the answer was no, because, oh, that kid has a referral. Or they would have these sort of punitive thoughts or gatekeeping. And I always felt, well, if a kid wants to be in leadership, isn't that what we want for them? We want them to make that move. We need to recognize that we're trying to grow adults. Sometimes it felt like that access was limited for kids who have behavior issues, and that was frustrating to me. Theme 8. Classroom expectations are perceived as inconsistent and do not meet the needs of all students. A staff member shared, one of my colleagues has a very wiggly, busy student who has a diagnosed disability. And my colleague said, well, he just needs to do what the rest of the kids are doing. And I thought, no, he's never going to do that ever. And so we can't kick him out or throw an adult at him because he's not doing it the same way. We have to change the way we do things. If a kid doesn't make progress in this one prescribed intervention, then I hear, oh, we need to start talking about special ed. And no, actually, we just need to change the intervention, or maybe we need to change the person, or maybe we need to change the time of day. A little more flexibility in that regard would also be helpful. A staff member shared, students who are male and have ADHD, they are treated differently. I have watched those students really struggle as they go through a system because of the expectations that are set for them. Looking at their past teachers' comments, how hard some of these teachers have been on them, how disappointing that is.
Theme 9. The district shows a clear desire to be more equitable and inclusive, but there is no clear action plan leading staff unsure about what to do. Staff shared, having started the conversation about equity is a positive thing, but somehow we started and we got into the momentum and then it went away. And I think that was unfortunate. A lot of districts and even companies, it's a big topic right now. I think we're lagging. Staff indicated where it has to start, though, honestly, to affect change is going to be in the classroom. And where I think we've missed is the district, the last 2 or 3 years has done the equity training, but it's been with the admin. Well, yes, they are the educational leaders in their buildings. However, the change happens in the classroom. And so it almost feels to me like it should have started with the classroom teachers and moved up versus top down. Because the only way we're going to change it is if we change those of us who are in the classroom. And it's this long continuum. And I think people are constantly moving, but we have a lot of people who are still early in their equity journey. So that's where I think that's been missed because for 2 years, they've done all this administrative training, but it hasn't really reached the classroom. Theme 10. There are hierarchical staff structures based on the job levels, and levels are not always treated equally. Staff shared, in my role, sometimes I'm pushing, hey, can we have a conversation about this? Is there a way we could improve the way we do this? I'm always wanting to do the very best we can do and help everybody the very best they can be the very best they can be. It's just part of how I roll. And I definitely feel I get the door closed from people above me. I get a lot of no's. I don't get a lot of yeses. I don't always feel like I'm heard. I do feel like I'm shut down, or no, that's not how we're going to do it, or we can just keep doing it how we're doing it. So yeah, I don't feel that I have an equal voice. Staff shared, I know that IAs don't always feel that their opinion is respected and that people treat them as if they were lesser when several of them have advanced degrees of their own. They just don't happen to have teaching degrees, or have a desire to be a teacher. They've chosen the IA role for a reason, and so I know that sentiment has been shared. IAs had made suggestions and they felt like they had been shut down by other people. Either their suggestion was quickly dismissed or that it just doesn't matter. There's also a difference between the way people in life skills program feel that they are treated in comparison to the general IAs. They feel even more isolated.
Theme 11. Often decisions are made and committees are formed based off the loudest voice, but aren't necessarily representative of everyone's voice. A parent and staff member reported, in the district, it seems that there are some decisions that are made before voices are shared. Sometimes it feels like we're not all being heard. It felt like that it was checking a box to ask the question. They just say, if you'd like to participate, let us know, versus having specific invitations to some staff. And so it seems like, especially our classified staff, are left off of a lot of committees. I don't know why, but it does feel like they're not represented as often. And because of the opportunities are voluntary, it does seem like a lot of the same people volunteer. So we hear a lot of the same voices and not a lot of the others. It's also hard as a parent to participate when things happen outside of the school hours. A staff member shared, we respond to those who are loud. I think that is a system problem. We respond to the parent that emails the most, or we respond to the person who puts something on social media, or we respond to the board who makes a recommendation. We respond to the people who are the loudest, and that's not always right. Those people aren't always right. We really struggle, I think, as a system to recognize that. Trained professionals can make the right decisions about teaching and learning. We change what we're doing in order to accommodate those who are loud, and oftentimes those who are louder are entitled. And and have this horrific privilege that they don't even recognize, and then we make a decision to benefit those who have privilege, and that even further widens the gap for those that aren't. Theme 12. Family participation is geared toward English-speaking two-parent households where one parent stays at home. Staff shared, the way that our value system is set up it really does favor kids who have a lot of free time. Who don't have to worry about money. They don't have a job after school. They're not taking care of their siblings while their single parent works. They're able to exist while speaking English. I mean, I think that our system right now really does favor people with a lot of free time. And that hasn't been an issue in the Sherwood community historically, because I think we draw from a community where a lot of families have time and have support. And that was the norm for a long time. And I don't think that's true anymore. There are kids who probably want to do things and can't because they don't have time. A staff member also stated, "We are doing better with families that speak Spanish, but there are a lot of other languages too. And that is something we are not doing well. It is making those families feel welcome. We send an email out and get family responses. We bring the data to the board meetings or our meetings and say, here, we got these many responses and this is the outcome. And we're going to be making decisions off of this. And who has responded? What demographics are we seeing there? I don't think we hear from some of our students, our minority, or our low SES families."
While the equity audit revealed many areas for growth, as seen through these themes and testimonials, participants also provided insight on things the district is doing well related to equity. Some of these examples are: many secondary students have found classes or clubs that align with their interests and identities and help make school a positive experience for them. There's a lot of optimism around the dual language immersion program and the impact it will have on our district. Many respondents were appreciative of recent district messaging on issues related to race and equity, but would like to see more clear equity policies and positions accessible on the district website. Several current school or district events are seen by participants as having a positive impact, including Unity Week at the high school, the Voices Assembly at the high school, and staff book study groups at the various buildings. Many participants would like to see past events, such as Bienvenidos, begin again. Some respondents reported appreciating seeing visuals that represent a variety of identities in school buildings, including flags from multiple countries and posters or signage in multiple languages. Most respondents expressed a desire to see a more intentional focus on having inclusive visuals in all buildings. Finally, many district staff are perceived as welcoming and supportive and are seen as working to challenge inequitable policies and practices.
All right, so what did we do with all the data? You guys got to see a little bit of it, but there was quite a bit of the testimonials, and what we did with it is we shared it with our administrative team at our final administrative council of the school year. And we reviewed all the findings. We read through the testimonials. The teams developed problems of practice that were unique to their buildings or their district office team. And they identified any quick fixes because there were a lot of things that we could change quickly. They really centered their work around actionable steps to make students' lives better. During our third and final Equity Visioning Committee meeting of the year, we shared the administrators' progress and their plans, even though it was preliminary. And our goal was really to create a thread of accountability and feedback between the administrative council and the Equity Visioning Committee, really tying those two groups together. The committee provided feedback and identified additional considerations that we will be sharing with the administrative team over the course of our summer work. So what are our next steps? Well, we plan to use the feedback and the equity audit findings to develop district and building level action plans. The data will be used to revisit and revise the strategic plan. The information gathered will provide insight as we work to create an equity policy. We will also reconvene the equity visioning team in the fall and on an ongoing basis. This team is crucial to our work and provides us with ongoing accountability for action. The team also provides the important guidance we need to move forward on our next steps to ensure we're focusing on the right work for students. Finally, in the fall of 2021, we will start phase 2 of our equity audit because we want to learn more from students and we want to learn more from families and we want to learn more from staff. We want to know them better so that we can serve them better. Thank you.
Questions, comments, thoughts? Go ahead, Mike.
So first off, I just wanted to say thank you for all this work. I want to say in general, I think in Sherwood we have the best staff, both teachers, non-classified and administrators in the state. We really do, and it's been an honor for both Janet and I to give back as much as we can to the community and the schools that have given my family so much. I have 4 kids come through the system. The second point I want to make is why I think this work is so important. In Sherwood, we serve all the students. Our goal is to make all students feel included and valued. In the end, diversity is what freedom is all about. Equity is a founding principle of public education. The goal is to create a level playing field of opportunity for all our students. And doing this work better and doing it well is something that will make us both a stronger community and a stronger nation. So thank you for this work. I think it is very important.
Thanks.
Other questions, comments, thoughts, discussion? Eric.
I just want to say thank you for the work you did of providing all those stories. I think a lot of times when we talk about this, it gets shared as a couple talking points, a few trigger words, and I think sharing people's stories, as we've learned through the years, is a very powerful medium to kind of really see the root of the issue. And I know this was a tremendous amount of work, and I appreciate all the time that you did reading all of those out, because it really kind of brought a lot of it to life. It wasn't just a bunch of bullet items. So I appreciate that, and thank you.
Thank
you. Jessica.
I just want to say I've had the privilege of serving on this committee, and I can say that it has been a diverse group of folks, parents and community members and the chamber and city managers, lots of folks, and privileged particularly to have a group of students who have shared their voices and their experiences. And I think it's sometimes easy to kind of reflect on the world as we see it only through our own lens. And it is really hard to walk in the shoes of others and to try and understand what it is to walk in the shoes of others unless we stop talking and do listening. And I think that's really what this group has been about and what the empathy interviews have been about. I was privileged to be a part of them. And as I looked at just, being very transparent here, my own responses against some of what came in from others, I learned a lot just in the process of doing the audit and then in hearing the feedback. Because I do think that the intentions of this district and the staff and the teachers and the parents and really everyone who comes at this is we want every student to feel welcome. And we want every student to feel like, why can't you just sign up for that AP class? But to listen to students say to us, well, I look around the room and no one looks like me. And I don't feel welcome. Or that just doesn't seem like that's an open option to me. Or I had no idea that I could participate in X activity because I can't afford it. And I had no idea that scholarship was available. Like we've got to make our community more aware that not everyone lives the same life. And we've got to start walking in each other's shoes. And that doesn't mean labeling other people or imposing beliefs around other people just because they're not like us. It means, how do we open the door of opportunity in a way that isn't taking something from one and giving to another, but it doesn't, to extend your analogy, it doesn't hurt anybody else. If everyone's getting shoes, it doesn't hurt anybody to make sure that those shoes fit. Like, my feet aren't the same size as Eric's, but giving us both the same pair of shoes just make me look kind of silly. And so how about, we try and do that. I think these are the right conversations about how we make sure that education actually works. And I think this work is essential. And it's essential about meeting lots of different needs in our community, whether those are needs of kids with a disability, whether those are needs of kids at a lower socioeconomic status, or just frankly, working families who want to be part of their kids' education and cannot show up at a parent support organization meeting at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. And how do we make sure that their voices are heard and honored too? So I think I want to be really clear for our community that has been having a lot of conversations about equity, but I think in a way that assumes that it's all about racializing this conversation and good and bad. And in participating in this work, that has not been what this conversation has been about. This is not what this district is about. It's about how do we recognize that people walk in different shoes, and those shoes ought to fit. And we need to understand when we have predictable disparities based on socioeconomic status, whether English was your native language or not, and on race, when we know that there are predictable disparities in this district, that it is not acceptable for us to say, well, let's just keep doing things the same way and see if it turns out different. We have got to change the way that we approach it so that kids can be successful, and not in an inauthentic way, but in a real, genuine way that doesn't take anything away from the kids that are doing well today, but does invest in our future and making sure that every kid has a great place to be here. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I went on and on there, but I really think it's important. And I think it's important for this community to understand what we're talking about here and not make assumptions.
Sue?
I just want to thank you for the in-depth presentation. I mean, to be honest, it's an awful lot to digest and a lot to think about, certainly. But can you tell us a little bit about what it looks like in the fall with the next phase of your work?
I can. So as you know, we just hired a new DEI director. So obviously a lot of this work will be in partnership, and she will be leading. That's my nod to you. And, when I said we really wanted to hear more student voices, we have a large district with lots of students, and we heard from 81 participants. So we need to hear more. We need to hear more from our students. So we're going to go out, and we have the luxury of having in-person school. When we started this, we had to do many of our empathy interviews over Zoom. And we don't always have relationships with the students, families, parents, even staff that we were interviewing. And so we had to find creative ways to get them to participate in an interview over Zoom. And with the opportunity to actually meet in person, we can have forums where we have larger groups and small groups having conversations, where we facilitate bringing in, little student groups and going to student activities and extracurricular activities and kind of saying, hey, we want to hear from you. We want your voice. We want your input so that we can make our schools better for you and for all of the students that come after you. And so it'll look a little bit different. And we'll be asking some different questions to see, we want to know if we're improving in our work, if the steps that we're taking are making students feel like we're moving forward in the equity work, that they feel more included, that they feel like the shoe fits for them. And so that's kind of what it will look like in the fall. Does that answer your question?
Well, I also really appreciate the presentation. Will Rogers once said something to the general effect of, it's not what people don't know that's the problem, it's what they do know that just ain't true. And being able to talk in this much depth about the nature of the work and hear these voices, I think really helps understand what the work is and what we're talking about. And I think, going forward, I think the district really needs to work hard to figure out ways to help the community understand what this work is about. Otherwise, that story gets filled up with things that people know that just ain't so. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Great. Thank you all. Okay, on to action items. Next up is sources of strength curriculum, first reading. Dr. Fritz.
Good evening again, Chair Allen, Superintendent Dr. Cordy, and board members. Just as a reminder for a first read, the sources of strength curriculum in this binder will be available beginning tomorrow morning in the district office. Anyone in the community is welcome to come by, take a look at it. In addition to that, we're gathering feedback. So there's a feedback form that will be available for folks to give any kind of feedback they may have about this particular curriculum, and we'll be collecting that feedback over the course of the next 2 weeks so that we can then bring that back for a second read at a future board meeting.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Thank you very much. Next up, inter-district transfers, Mr. Rose.
Thank you, Chair Allen, Superintendent Cordy, members of the board. As you know, earlier this evening, we discussed inter-district transfers, and in the past, at the March 10th board meeting, you opened 45 slots through a lottery basis for students that are non-resident to our community to transfer into the high school grades 9 through 12. As I reported, we had 14 that have requested that, 3 of which have been released from their home districts and 11 that are pending. As a budget strategy to help with our current budget and with the available capacity at the high school, we'd like to open the remainder of those 45 slots on an open until filled basis at the high school grades 9 through 12.
Jessica.
Mr. Chair, I move that we open 31 slots at the high school on grades 9 through 12 on a first come, first served basis to incoming inter-district transfers.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next up, middle school social studies curriculum adoption, second reading. Mr. Bennett.
Thank you, Chair Allen, Superintendent Cordy, Board of Directors. At our most recent board meeting, the team got up and presented an in-depth presentation on a variety of middle school social studies materials that was put up for first read at that time. Since then, members of the public and community have had an opportunity to review that and provide feedback. As of late this afternoon, we've received one piece of feedback on that curriculum. It was strongly positive, liking the nature of the curriculum, the multiple perspectives, the variety of visuals. And at this point in time, all good things to say about that from our community, and we would recommend that the adoption be approved at this time for adoption and use in our classrooms in the fall.
Jessica.
Mr. Chair, in light of the supportive comments that we've received from the community and the 3 years of work that it took to bring this curriculum to us, I'd like to move that we adopt the middle school social studies curriculum that was presented to us at our last board meeting.
Anybody at all?
Second, there we go.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next up is adjustments to the 2021-2022, that's hard to say, academic calendar. Mr. Emmert.
Thank you, Chair Allen. So in our last board meeting, we brought a revision to the 21-22 district calendar, and that consisted of moving to support our multi-tiered system of support for kids from a 2-hour every other week early release to a 1-hour every week early release. And so those revisions will still need to be added to the calendar if it's adopted, but tonight we bring the revised calendar for second read and adoption.
Jessica.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that we accept and adopt the adjustments to the 2021-2022 academic calendar.
All right, I'm going to second this one. Okay, second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, we have one last board meeting for this fiscal year to adopt the budget. Has anyone got any closing comments or other thoughts they want to share tonight?
I said mostly what I wanted to say, but I just wanted to thank my fellow board members. I've known most of you longer than the 4 years I've served on this board, and it really has been a pleasure and an honor. Sherwood Schools has done great things for my family, and I am happy to see that we are in good shape to do great things for many more families. Thank you.
Eric?
I have a quick thing to say, but I'm afraid that Sue may give me another poster here, so I am going to keep my mouth shut.
Jessica, can't let that go.
No, I can't. I'm going to say that because of Calculus Mountain and because of all of the work that Eric has done to educate me, my own child has decided to get off of the Calculus Mountain road and into a level of math that will serve him well in his future interests and pursuits in his senior year, and would not have had the courage to do that without you, Eric. And he texted me to remind me to say to the outgoing board members, Sam says thank you. So I want to make sure that you all know Sam Adamson says thanks.
All right, anything else? Next meeting Tuesday, June 15th, 2021 for budget adoption and public hearing as well. We are adjourned.